Welcome everybody to episode 154 of the You Can't Comp This NBA Trading Card Podcast. We're your hosts, Adam, Amy, and Russell Gibson. How's your week been, Russell?
Yeah, man, really good. 154 sounds large to me. I thought you were going to say maybe 152, 153, but here we go.
We're just going from strength to strength.
Yeah, 154.
Stars
Heaps to talk about this week.
154.
Heaps to talk about between players moving around, summer league performance.
The Olympics warming up, gearing up. There's all kinds of stuff.
I don't think we've got Olympics warm up in the thing, but there was an absolutely cracker game today.
The
Sudan
US
versus America, just a 1-point game. So
thanks to LeBron.
Yeah,
The real hero.
Let's do something a bit different this week. So I found this on Facebook. It's basically about Kawhi Leonard. It's some funny stories about Kawhi Leonard I thought we'd just share with each other. And I think
Was
it's
he
so
telling funny
good.
stories, or they're just a funny story?
I think they're funny stories about him, but I think that we should almost make this a segment moving forward. We just try and find all these funny stories online about Kawhi Leonard, and each week we just share a different story. I don't know how many funny stories are out there about Kawhi Leonard, but let's give it a go. So the first one, he lived in San Antonio with his mother despite signing a $94 million contract. I think there's a few other funny stories about that with him too, is that he still drives the same car that he drove in college, and he's quite particular with his money.
Yep.
Every night he played Jenga with his mum while eating enchiladas. He just sits around playing Jenga, eating enchiladas. And I don't even know how he got this, but he's got this unlimited lifetime coupon from Wingstop. And so
It's one of his first endorsements, surely.
I mean, if he's not endorsed by them yet, he should be by now.
Yes.
Then he loses it one day, and apparently he was just freaking out for days because now he has to pay for his own enchiladas and wings and all this type of stuff.
Oh no.
And they hooked him up with free wings until they replenished his supply, basically. So
Oh fuck.
that's our Kawhi Leonard story number one. And then the second one, which is probably a little bit funnier, to be honest. They were at a San Antonio Spurs team dinner.
Yep.
The waiter comes around to take their orders. Kawhi Leonard waves them all off. And Greg Popovich, the coach, notices him waving off the waiter, and so goes over to talk to him about it. What's going on. So his reply is, apple time, pulls out a bag of apples and proceeds to eat 12 apples with a knife and a fork. Costanza style, just in the middle of a restaurant.
I like that. What the? He didn't distribute them, he ate them all to himself. He didn't give everybody...
With a knife and a fork, by the way, too, just in the middle of a restaurant.
I mean, one guy eating 12 apples with a knife and fork, that's...
Man, the
he is
output
not
on that too would have
wired.
been epic. Yeah.
He is not wired correctly. I thought when you said 12, everybody in the team got an apple.
No, that was
And then
12.
got allocated a knife and fork to eat that apple
His
with.
dinner was 12 apples.
12
that
apples.
He ate the knife and fork.
How do you like them apples?
Yeah. Alrighty. I think I've milked that sound effect for all it's worth, but
That's all right. It'll be back.
I'm certain it's going to be back.
It's coming back.
So last week, one of the joys about doing a live podcast is sometimes we ask questions and I just don't know the answer to them. So I found the answer. You were asking me about how much Wembies have been selling for the last couple of years. So this is courtesy of @5guys from Instagram. If you don't follow them, they're a pretty good follow. January 24.
Yep.
As in 2024, sold for 2,500. February 2,750. March dropped down quite a bit, 2,175. April 2,258. These are all US dollar figures, and then a huge drop into May, 1,150. June 850. So you can see here the level that it's moved from. Basically, it's gone down by 66%, if not more.
Wow.
And then July, it's picked up a little bit to 1,082. So,
Is he $1,000 rookie card?
I mean, I don't have a problem with it.
I don't think that's a bad level to be at, right? You're looking at Tatum, Luka.
I think the amount of potential that he's got in skill and size and all the rest of it is
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
super tantalizing. I've got no real problem with that. I think
Mm.
what I really do have a problem with is just the population on these. Like the population on these, this is going to be
It's going to be through the roof,
more
isn't it?
than Luca. It's going to be more than Jar. It's going to be more than
Mm.
Zion. And I don't want to say something crazy like, oh, it's going to be more than all these guys combined, but I wouldn't be surprised that,
Bigger than Ben Hur.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's going to be crazy. So I think the thing with him is, and I think this is a segment for us to do in the future, actually. I was thinking about that this week and I didn't follow it up. Is so we say silvers are no good, base prisms are no good. What is good to buy for Wemby's? Then we go through and we can do a little bit of
look at other
a
stuff
card
too.
exploration because there are some really cool cards out there
Yeah.
that's coming out from Panini. And I think that's a little bit of the problem too with the release schedule this year is that it's coming on so hot and heavy. One release comes out, nice cards come out, then we move on to the next one straight away. Like
You forget
Donruss,
about some of them, don't you? It's
yeah, Donruss Optic has just landed.
Yeah.
Well, it's been out a little while now, but there's the slammy cards in that, which are they're really cool cards, but not a lot of people are talking about them. So, it gives us an opportunity to look at through the the case hits out of each product. So
Yeah, that's true.
that's how we do that.
Yeah, not a bad little deep dive. Yeah.
Alrighty, this came into my feed from HGA. So basically, they've closed the doors on grading at the moment, and this is not the first time this company has actually made this decision.
Restructured?
Yeah, so this is the third time that they've stopped taking cards in for a while. If you're not familiar with HGA, you would definitely have seen their slabs, but you just might not have recognized them. So basically, when you do your submission to HGA, you can also choose the color format up the top. So
Yeah.
we all know how much Adam you love a good color match.
I do love a good color match.
So you can color match your slab to the card. The other thing you can do too is, and I'm not too sure if they offer this anymore, but they were definitely doing this for a while. Essentially, you can do like a custom label. You can pick your color schemes and you can go through and choose the color on the fonts and all this type of stuff. So I think for like Pokemon in particular, it's it's fantastic. If you've got different colored parallels and you want to match that together, again, that's really cool. HDA make their claim to fame within the grading world using AI, and they've been talking about using computer integrated grading for quite a long time. But for some reason it's more of a novelty than a true well-regarded grading company. I think that also the joke behind HGA is that you can get a 10 from them, but it'll be an 8 from BGS, and it'll be an 8 or a 7 or a 9 from PSA. Like there's always that variability with PSA too.
Yeah.
So HGA has changed hands a couple of times in the last, and again they're closing down their doors and they're going to remodel. So that's what basically this whole thing is about. Given what we have learned, we have decided to restructure our business model, change our website and ordering platform, and bring on an operating partner that understands this industry and has a passion for it. Unfortunately, this means we'll have to pause orders temporarily while we undergo these changes. We'll finish out the cards we have in our pipeline and then go to work creating this new model and finding the right partner and leader. We will launch a model that focuses on these customers that appreciate our amazing custom labels, our quality cases, and our consistent grading. When we relaunch, our model will be simple, high quality, and really cater to the collector that appreciates the high quality offered by HGA. That's probably enough for us for doing the read through.
Yeah.
Where are you at with HGA, Ad? Is it something that interests you? Are you not interested?
Look, I think I thought it was very interesting the way they went about things. I thought it was different, and if it had have gone well, I guess it would have been a nice, I don't know, alternative grading company. Yep. But like with any of the smaller graders, like just the smallest bit of negative press kind of kills them. And when they were struggling with a backlog, when slabs were coming back and it was not the greatest, they had a lot of hiccups. I do like the custom slabs. Don't get me wrong. The aesthetics of those were cool, but as far as the numbers on them, I wasn't overly keen.
Yeah, the aesthetics, and also too, they do the horizontal slab probably better than any grading company. That's the two things they do quite well. But I think once you sort of step past that, so I'm just looking at the moment on GemRate. So shout out to Ryan for all your amazing work. They're not in the top 4.
So they don't appear in population reports as they come under other.
I can't see them in any stats that Ryan's put up. I'm looking through the monthly, the weekly, the daily stuff. This is not one day that
They've
pop up,
even
because some days, depending on the grading numbers. So I'm looking at July 16th. PSA didn't submit any stats at all for that day, but that to me sort of gives an opportunity for another grading company to jump into that
fill the
spot,
void
but there's
kind of
just
thing.
nothing there.
Yeah, and this is the thing. Like, it's not a Well, it is a monopolized market. Let's be real. Like PSA are by and far, they have a monopoly.
I understand what you're saying, but I think it's more that they dominate the market than monopolize it.
Yeah, I guess it's hand in hand. I think their success has grown their dominance. Like the more there's no one that buys in, and they've been acquiring other companies as well, absorbing them in. I just don't think there's room to enter this market now.
Yeah. The thing I worry about is I wonder that, because these guys have been bought and sold a few times, that they were bought and sold during COVID when it was crazy, on the assumption that those numbers would keep on coming.
Yeah.
And now that we've had this, very large downturn, and no one's really too sure, are we at the bottom yet? Are we close to the bottom? Are we past the bottom? Are things, getting good again? But
yeah, I think that's a good point.
And I wonder if also too, part of their modeling that they created previously was like they were basing it on X numbers. Now they're getting
a particular volume.
Yeah. Y numbers, which is much less. Or look, maybe it's not the worst thing in the world. They sort of stop and, restructure, but at the same time too, I think it does definitely hurt their branding.
Sure.
I do think though, the main thing that you would want to do in all of this, I think if anyone is making their own grading company, is you want to get bought out by PSA, honestly. And I say this in a very complimentary way.
Yeah, you want to be regarded that highly. Yeah, agree.
Yeah, get into PSA, get them to buy you out, and then basically take over and just be like another outlet for them. And I think the same thing about Aussie graders too. There's a few graders in Australia, and I do almost wonder, like, would it be better for PSA to have these sort of little island companies around the world instead of getting them all sent back? I think that causes other problems with quality control and regulation, as I know you love to talk about, Ad, but I don't know, in my head that kind of makes sense.
There'd be a consistency problem there with being able to guarantee the same quality coming out of different sites and in different countries, I guess.
Yeah.
But yeah, like, speaking of the quality, I think the aesthetics of those slabs, they're good. I've always liked the aesthetics of the HGA slab, and I think they make cool showpieces. But I don't think I'd be getting high quality cards graded with them.
Yeah. I think it's a PC only thing for me, and frankly,
and that's the thing. Like, you can make a really cool. You can have a great setup, like a nice little cute PC, and then get them slabbed in HGA slabs to make it look really pop.
Yeah. I think, to be honest with you, I'd rather just a really nice one touch.
Maybe that's their next move.
I don't want to be that guy in the room, but yeah, for me to like,
is it a product we need?
A one touch or a top loader that's in the back. That's kind of my like 1, 2, and 3. Gold, silver, and bronze medal, keeping in with an Olympics vein.
Yeah, I don't think they're on the podium, these guys.
No. Alrighty. PWCC made an announcement. Basically, it was around a card that was sent into their platform and sold. It turned out to be a fake card that had an autograph on it. So their reaction to this, or their changing their policy, is in order to ensure Fanatics Collect is the most trusted platform for collectors, we are implementing an important policy update. Effective today, we will no longer permit the sale of autograph-only authenticated cards on our marketplace. Feedback from the collecting community has made it clear that the authenticity of autograph-only authenticated cards can be misinterpreted. 100%. That's... Or you can also say too, is that they sold a fake card. I mean, I think they are taking accountability, but they could also say too, really what happened. This decision ensures that every collector can trust they are buying a complete verified product with the highest standards of authenticity. We look forward to continuing to provide with an exceptional marketplace experience. So that's a good outcome. I think this is really your platform, Adam, to talk about regulation.
It's a tricky one, isn't it? It's very much a... What are we grading at the moment? Or like, what are they selling? What are we because people buy graded cards for a level of what would the word be? Assurance that the card
Definitely.
they're buying is genuine and authentic.
Particularly PSA.
Correct.
Yeah,
So
with their
if an
money back guarantee.
autograph is
Yeah.
authenticated, it says authentic on the on the slab. If the card's not real, but the authentic and the autograph is,
Yeah. I think
basically people are trying to sell a narrative that it's an authentic card.
I think that's a bit on PSA too. And
Yeah,
maybe
that's
one thing
true.
about all these companies like coming together and essentially forming alliances, I wonder if there's going to be direct communication now between Fanatics and PSA.
Information sharing
Yeah,
or
like so this
yeah.
is the problem that we had. You are definitely part of this equation. Okay, what can you do to improve this
Mm,
situation for everyone? Because
yeah.
if they're that's the big sell from Fanatics at the moment, isn't it? Oh, we're gonna like improve the hobby. We're gonna fix the hobby like where the problems are. So that's the type of stuff where I see
They're going
this
to
sort of
bring everyone together.
this big overlord or the
Mm,
big person in charge. I think this is where you can see some gains here. 100%. So
yeah. Yeah.
and
I don't disagree with the policy. I think it's really I think it's really savvy of them to be doing it. But there's a comment there on the Instagram post.
yeah,
It's the highest Jordan sold close to $3 million recently, and that wouldn't be eligible under this policy. Is the comment.
oh okay.
There are replies. I'll read them.
Because the card is fake.
Is it? I don't know which one he's referring to.
Yeah, it's a bit tricky, isn't it? You're not too sure. Yeah.
Is it the Jordan the new? No,
Well, as far as I know, the ones we were talking about last week, they haven't gone to market. They're still in someone's collection.
collection, and they were offered 100 million. So that's more than 3 million.
Yeah.
Would why would that not be? Why would the one of one, the Logo Man one? Why would that have not been?
Maybe it was trimmed. Who knows?
That's a bit.
Sounds like you're asking me questions again. I need to research and find out for next week.
Yeah.
You're supposed to. Yeah.
I don't. Me and research. You're hearing it live here first. Oh yeah, no, they're specifying, yeah. Currently, if it's just a trading card, yeah, that it's basically they're what we were just talking about. If it's a genuine card,
Yep.
so the Jordan, I think the Jordan would be fine.
All right. Let's. I'm going to say this last comment, then we'll go off to a break. Okay. So this is from @Brooklyn Vintage Cards. Secondary market autos should not be permitted. I'm all about this. For me, all this secondary market autograph stuff is an
I
absolute
love that.
load of nonsense.
I love it. It's
Why do you need secondary market autographs? Just get autograph cards from the Panini. Like,
yeah.
all right, break time. See you in a minute.
See you in a minute.
Okay, so all right, 19 minutes. Let's call it 30. All right, so we'll come back and we'll talk about the CT scanner.
Sweet.
Alrighty, we're back. Adam, have you got a drink?
Have
you
do.
topped up your beverage?
I do. I have water in case I need to hydrate.
Great. Don't want to be dehydrated, that's for sure.
Correct.
Yeah. Alrighty, this next story, I've deliberately left it a few rungs down because I feel like every other media outlet has been covering this straight off the top of their bat and ad nauseum. So you might want to skip through this because you've already heard enough about it. You don't want to listen to this nonsense again. And also there's other people that have probably covered it better, but at the same time, there'll definitely be some people out there that haven't heard about this. So essentially, a story came out. It's been picked up by all of the big dogs, the names that I don't want to hear. Eric Whiteback also mentioned it. I actually don't know who is the original person who brought this to light, but it wasn't a large account who posted the original video. But basically what it is someone's taken a case of Flawless and put it into a CT scanner. And then the information they've derived out of that is that you can tell the types of patches that's in the card. So you can't actually tell the player name. It won't give you that much detail back, but it will show you the shape or the size of the patch. So for example, and where this becomes relevant is logomans can be then you can say, okay, great. So this is a one of
That's
one
a logo, man. Yeah.
in this box. So we want this case and we want it, for ourselves. So I currently or slash previously worked in the healthcare industry. So I still have some friends that I still keep up with. And I reached out to my buddy who is a radiologist. And he was basically saying to me that to be able to take a box of cards and put it into a CT machine, you would either have to be a radiologist or a radiographer yourself, which narrows it down to a pretty small margin.
Yeah, quite a bit.
Or you would have to own your own medical practice. He's like, that's kind of the only two scenarios that it would be. He then said to run a machine like that, he's like, it's about 300 Aussie per go, give or take a few dollars either way, right? He also then said too, is with the logs, he's like, it's very difficult to remove data out of these logs. So it's like your boss would then know that you're putting briefcases. Let's just say your boss doesn't know it's in the cases. Let's say it like that. But your boss would then know you're putting in 50 briefcases a year into a CT machine. They'll be like, well, like, what's up with that? So
I've got ideas going through my head now.
No. So let's hear your ideas, and I'll finish off where I was going with this.
But like, does that inspire people to be like, "Hey, boss, I've got this really cool hobby. I want to get you in on this."
Yeah.
To get permission to use the CT machine.
So people have come about this from two different ways. So some people are saying, great, you've shown people how to scam people. Now more people know how to scam.
Yeah.
And then the other side of people are like, well, now it's been brought to light. So now, we know about it. Yeah.
You're really probably not stopping people from doing this if they want to.
Yeah. I think for me, it's almost like the joke that I have in my head about the ways that you can get scammed in this hobby. It's just like add it to the list of just another way that, people can do it. And
that said, if you're a reputable seller, and someone goes, I'd like to buy a box of Flawless off you.
Yeah.
And I get a box and I nick off and I come back and go, I don't want this one. I want another one.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like if I'm running off and doing a CT scan and saying, nah, I don't want this one. I want another one.
I think the probability that this happens to search boxes in this manner, I would say it's very, very small. And I think that's where I was trying to go with that narrative that I was laying down before. It's like, because when I heard about this, outrage is not the right word, but I was kind of like, this doesn't really sit well with me. I don't agree with it. Like it's just another crappy way that people can take advantage of someone else, and then someone else foots your bill. I think that's the part of it that I'm kind of a bit like, ugh, that sucks. But I think realistically, the number of people that are going about and doing this and profiting from it, like that's the other thing too. Like if it costs you, well, again, I suppose someone else is footing the bill for running the CT machine, aren't they? Like, yeah, I don't know how many people are actually, doing this.
I'm telling my boss that for their $10,000 investment, if they do run a few CT scans, what the average going rate of a logo man is.
Yeah.
Let's see if it's worth the risk.
I mean, that's true. Like what's the cheapest logo man? $2,000, $3,000, something like that.
Yeah. I don't know. I do think it's a lot of effort to go to. And yeah, I'd have suspicions if people were returning boxes and going, I don't want this one.
Well, I wonder if it would be someone, say...
Or if they bought them in bulk and then tried to on-sell them.
You had access to that many boxes.
Yeah,
and then
yeah.
We're cherry-picking the boxes out, yeah.
You reckon Backyard Breaks have bought themselves a CT scanner?
Well, did they have a run of Logoman?
They've had a run of pretty crazy hits.
But specifically, were they Logoman cards?
Don't know. I can't even remember. I just know they hit all the big stuff. And there was one. Oh no, they've hit some Logo Man.
Okay.
But I'm just saying, is it really worth it?
I think if you can give particular breakers loaded boxes, yeah, it makes sense for that.
I don't know. It's an advantage, but God, no. I see it as way too much effort for very not little, for limited reward.
It's a pretty large conspiracy. I'll definitely say that.
Like, you can't identify who the player is. Yeah, I don't know. It just seems like a lot of work to go to.
Mm.
I mean, there's a lot of money on the line, but...
I think for me, like, where this really comes down to is, like, buying off people that you trust.
Agreed. Yeah, that's a good point.
Like, for me, I'm pretty particular about who I purchase from. And I think part of that reason is because, like, I know the boxes aren't messed around with. I know that the cards inside are going to be fine. And I know that if there's a problem, I've got someone to talk to, and then the issue gets resolved. Like, and I feel like most likely my gut feeling around this is not someone who is a big player in the market. I don't think this is going to be a David Adams. I don't think this is going to be like Leighton Sports Cards or, you know, someone like that who's doing distribution. I think this is probably going to be someone who's, you know, getting it wherever they're getting it from, and then they're essentially becoming like a middleman, you know, in some type of equation, whether they're selling to breakers or they're selling to people who want to buy sealed boxes. So my final thought on this, though, is that there's no evidence that they can put a regular hobby box into it. So, for example, you can't put a Prism hobby box into it and go, oh, there's a Nebula in this. There's not the ability for them to do that. They can literally only see what type of patches. That's the only information they can get out that's usable. So it's a very small, specific product that they could do it to. Maybe they could do it to iMac. Maybe they could do it to National Treasures, to something along those lines, and that, you know, that's what it's sort of limited down to.
Okay.
Did you want to have the final say on this in terms of regulation of the hobby?
Oh, look, I don't think there needs to be a clause built in for people using CT scanners. That's all right. To the regulations.
It's not going to make it into your manifesto?
No. I don't think we'll have to get sign-off for the... To prohibit the use of CT scanners.
Alrighty, whose stat line is this? 0 points, 0, 15 field goals, 0 of 7 from 3.
Bronny. It's Bronny, isn't it? Surely it's Bronny James. He's a bust. His dad's overseas playing in the Olympics, and Bronny's a bust.
It was unfortunately not Bronny James, because I feel
fortunately not Bronny James.
Did I say fortunately or unfortunately?
Unfortunately.
Well, fortunately, yeah. What I was going to say was fortunately it's not him, because I feel like that would have been news for a week. Honestly.
I think Bronny's stat line was a little bit better than that.
Alex Starr was the gentleman with that stat line.
He was picked higher than Bronny, wasn't he?
Slightly. Like an entire round earlier, yeah. So I think, like, for me, there's two parts to this. The first part is, I would say most games, once I've missed 10 shots in a row in a game, I'm kind of like, look, I'm not going to shoot anymore this week or this game. I'm going to, like, just do other things out there. But this guy has got the confidence to keep going. So, you know, Godspeed, Alex.
Good on him.
Secondly, this just fits into the whole Washington Wizards culture, I feel like. That, you know, now they've got 2 Jordan Pools to manage out there.
They'll be building a mansion. The amount of bricks they've got.
The Alex Sarr Jordan Poole pick and roll this year is going to be fire, absolute fire, mate. It's only going to be only comparable to, say, I don't know, Chris Paul and Wemby. That's the only two I can like really.
They're the big combos.
Yeah.
The Poole Sarr mansion is under construction.
Far out.
Bricks galore.
Yeah.
I knew that was coming back. Oh, God. It's so good.
All right. I promise I won't do it again. Okay. This is actually from 130 points. So, hello, Lane. I hope your trip in America is going very, very nicely. And this one, I wish I was a fly on the wall to hear about this and find out what's going on. So, May 21, this card was graded. This is the Michael Jordan All-Star Game Worn jersey from 1997. It was graded at near mint 8, and autograph 9. Now, for some unbelievable reason, they cracked it out and sent it back to PSA for grading, and it was regraded with a PSA 6 and autograph 10. So there has to be some story about this, and I would really like to find out about why.
The patch.
Just for some small other context, it recently sold for $2.1 million. Sorry, mate, I interrupted you.
Is this the Well, I'm looking at the two photos, and the grading of 6 looks like the card's yellowed. Or is that just a different scan of it?
It could be a different scan, or it could have discolored in that time, but that seems like a lot of
It's a lot to
discoloration in 3-year period.
Yeah, I don't understand. So it's the same company that have graded it.
Yeah, that's right. It's PSA to PSA.
Wow. All right.
So just looking through the comments here is that a couple of people said they cracked it out to resub it to see if it would go up. So that makes a lot of logical sense. Someone else also said in the comments, when they cracked it out, they damaged it.
Ooh,
that
okay.
Definitely makes sense to me.
How does cracking it up the quality of the autograph? If they just the autograph, actually, I'll say that maybe there's more data on the autograph now. So it is like, actually that is a higher quality autograph than they originally gave it credit for, due to the increased sample of Jordan autographs.
Or it could just be the inconsistencies that we have with grading, because I think, we were just talking about HGA, how that they have some irregularities with their grading. But I think, to be fair to PSA, it's pretty common for people to crack and resub cards after they've cleaned it or polished it, or
spill water on it.
Not use. Yep. Neds. Yep. So
it's a lot of differences. To go from PSA 8 to PSA 6, it'd have to be damaged.
Yeah. So the theory of it being cracked out, I think there is some logic to that, because again, I was reading online that none of this is verified in any capacity.
No.
Is that the person was actually compensated for it, though. And I think the only reason why you would be compensated by PSA is if the PSA team
damaged it
while they're cracking it, and you can pay them to crack it out for you.
Oh.
So, for example, if you purchase a card, so if your play is to purchase BGS cards or SGC cards off eBay
and
send them into PSA for a resub,
they'll crack them.
They will crack them and then grade them and do that for you.
Oh.
Yeah.
I might do that then.
So that is definitely something you can do, or you can crack it out yourself. Because I feel as though, I personally think you're better off cracking it out yourself, because then you're sending in a card that they have an unbiased opinion of before they look at it. The other thing you can do too is, and this is what there was a video from Backyard Breaks talking about, they described it as a hack, but you can also send in a card that's encapsulated or graded already. Yeah. And you say you only want it to be graded if it's PSA 10. So they actually look at it in the encapsulation and they don't pull it out unless they're going to give it a 10. If they give it a 9 or an 8, they just send it back to you, and you still have to pay the grading fee though. So that's the catch in that.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay. It's still a lot of difference, but you're right. It could just be, they've stuffed it as they've cracked it, and
I reckon that's what's happened.
And look, you're right. The overall grade on it might be 9 point, like it'd be around a 9.5, but they're rounding, and someone rounded down, and the next person rounded up.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah,
I reckon that type of stuff would go on all the time there.
Yeah.
Alrighty, Ad. Let's go to our next music break. Looking forward to some tunes. I think the next thing to talk about is Jordans. I just got a new keyboard, and it's one of those ergonomic ones, so my hands are not in the right place half the time, so I'm typing gibberish. Alrighty, we are back. Part 3 of today's show. and we're going to get back to some Jordan again.
Sticking
Back-to-back Jordan.
Back-to-back Jordans.
Right. I wanted to talk about this card with you for two reasons. The first one is it's Michael Jordan. It's always good to look at some card porn when it comes to Jordan.
Yep.
Now, the next thing to talk about with this card is it's hoops. There's not that many hoops are not considered generally that chaseable, blah, 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 blah. So this is from 1997. The insert set is called High Voltage.
Like it.
We have a listener question later in the show. Maybe this is a perfect time now to actually delve into this listener question, which is talking about inserts. But this is the exception to the rule where hoops is chaseable and it's something that you should be looking to get.
Yeah.
So this is PSA 8. Well, it's actually 8.5, but that's fine. Population on this is just 8.
Okay.
Now, the last sale on this was 1,050. So it's a pretty, nice little return on that card.
It is given. Yeah, yeah.
My thing about this is that, it's low population, but I just think you can spend $1,000 better somewhere else. Like, I'm definitely not poo-pooing this purchase.
But I'm seeing all these Jordan inserts just skyrocket, right?
We've talked about this. That particular thing that you just said, we've actually mentioned that before on the show.
Yeah. So, and is it just like people are... I don't know. Because I feel like the pop count on this isn't a factor. Like I'm sure there were thousands of them printed. And you know what? It's hoops. We'd probably be able to get a box of 97 hoops.
I think the issue with... So let's talk about this card in particular. And you mentioned pop count. I agree with you. I think a lot of this would have been printed. But I think the issue was... And, we're nearly talking about 20 years ago
20 years ago, yeah.
It's the preservation of those cards.
Yeah, true.
And particularly when you talk about hoops, like you think about who purchased and handled hoops. It was kids. And it still is kids these days too, right? It's the same thing. So... I reckon you're right. I think there's heaps of these, but how many of them are in mint or near mint condition? Probably not that many of them, And then also too, they just came up with this beautiful design. So
what about a challenge to the listeners? Or I'm doing a bit of research. I'm going to try and do a bit of background research. I won't do it all now.
Yeah.
1997 hoops box. '96, '97 Series 2 hoops. That's expensive. That can't be it. Oh, maybe it is. Series 2 unopened. Nah, don't worry. Don't mind me. Oh, 96, 97. Is that because it's Kobe's year?
I think that's Kobe rookie year, I think.
Yeah, it might be, because it's like 2,000 US for a box.
My recollection too, some of that Series 2 stuff is quite expensive because they often put the rookies into that.
Okay. Oh, that's Series... Oh, no, that's Series 1. 97, 98. What the hell is this then? Okay, well, that's crap. Anyway, I'm like, how much would there be? Yeah. My thought was, how much would it cost you to rip a couple of boxes of this, get that Jordan and send it off for grading? Because if they're selling for at 8.5 last sold for $1,000. Imagine what a PSA 10 would sell for.
Yeah.
Anyway, that was my little sort of, I was going down that rabbit hole.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Like, if you can get cheap hoops product that's got Jordan in it, how much potential money can you make doing that? Oh, by the way, I'm not going to recommend anybody actually do it. But
yeah, I think the problem with that is that you hope to get Jordan, but then you get Harold Miner.
Oh, you get the Harold Miners of the world. You get like even a Hakeem Olajuwon. Actually, Scoring Kings are the big subset to talk about, right? When it comes to, like, the Jordan's worth money and the rest of it's not really.
Yeah. I
But
think
any insert set, the Jordan's worth the money, right?
I think what my takeaway from this is, it seems to be at the moment, just buying Jordan is a very sure thing. We talk about what's good to buy in the hobby, and I think at the moment we have been talking a little bit more Jordan consistently. Like, we talk about the ultra modern stuff, obviously, like that's what I'm most interested in. But I feel like these type of things that we sort of just keep popping up, it's like it's really hard to ignore that. At the end of the day, Jordan is the GOAT of the hobby. It's like as simple as that, I think.
Oh, look, I don't think the GOAT debate's much of a debate. I think we all agree that Jordan's the most iconic basketballer sort of ever.
Yeah, but specifically to us is, even in the hobby today, with everything else that's going on, he's still the ruler of, this domain. So,
yep.
Alrighty, let's thread in Al's question, because I think this is
that's
the
perfect
time.
Yeah, perfect timing for it, for sure.
Rusty and Adam, I was thinking about something for the show, a discussion on inserts and why they kind of don't matter in the hobby compared to the old days when they were a premium hit. Like back in the day, oh yes, I indeed grew up with the sexiest inserts like Scoring Kings and Beam Team. We didn't really have auto hits and numbered cards. I think those really hurt insert pieces these days. Not to mention some inserts these days look like SHIP. So, Adam, why don't you answer this question first? I mean, it's not really a question. I kind of feel like he's answering his own question, but at the same time, let's address this statement.
The statement. Well, Al started the discussion and gave us his opinion.
Yeah, that's right.
I feel here.
Yeah.
And I tend to agree. Like we grew up in some very interesting times with the 90s, the junk wax era, as it's been so aptly named. And yeah, like we did have very interesting insert sets like Scoring Kings, Beam Team. There were Power in the Key. There were some good, like, do you know what I mean? There were some pretty funky insert sets. And they were cool. What have I got? I've got like the old triple double set from Upper Deck. Like the hologram stuff. They're cool. And back in the day they were sort of really rated as a premium.
Yeah.
I don't know, these days they've just sort of been threaded in to sets rather than becoming the focus. Parallels have become the focus. Like the numbered parallels. I guess we're starting to see a resurgence in the respect for insert sets. And my question to expand the discussion is, in 20 years' time, when whoever has the license to cards and cards are doing whatever they're doing now, are we going to go back to this period of time and be looking at other insert sets? And going, you know what? Is it a case hit or is it just a cool insert set? I don't know. Do you know what I mean? Like,
yeah, no, definitely. I
prismatic or I don't know. I suppose there's different tiers of inserts as well.
Yeah.
Like we alluded to it before, the Marvel cards, they were cool. The Slam covers, cool. But yeah. Like, I don't know. We do tend to go back to kabooms, like premium inserts.
Yeah.
But there are so many around. Yeah.
All right. So I just need to break this down a little bit. So I think the issue with looking backwards in time that far is you tend to look at things from very rose-colored glasses. Like that's the first thing we need to at least acknowledge. The second thing too is when you go back in time that far, you filter out a lot of junk. So yes, there was Scoring Kings and Beam Team, but there would have been 20 other insert sets that were just as like crappily and not chased as much as we have.
I'm
like
reading the comments. Right? Yeah.
So like that's the first thing that you need to say. Now that doesn't make anything what Al was saying less, but I'm just trying to like let's have some context here and let's not be like the 1990s was the best or whatever, like And
but
so
it
and
was.
these days,
the 90s were awesome.
Yeah, what it was like growing up was cool. Like that's fine, but at the same time, like things have changed, man. Like we need to move on. And so, these days, like collecting has definitely changed. And I think we do look back at that time and we talk about it with junk wax. But I probably think one thing that we do need to acknowledge today is I think there is a degree of junk wax to, what happens today. So, like, if you look at checklists now, like the Prism checklist is quite large. And I think the
Mm.
easiest way to, like, you know, pair that in your head, if you look back through the checklist, say the last, just going back to say 16 and 17, like it's gotten bigger exponentially. I think the checklist now is up to 350 in the base set,
It's so
plus
bad.
all of your
Yeah.
inserts on top of that. And then if you compare it today to say WNBA, there's just 150 in the checklist. And I know that off the top of my head because I just finished like collecting the 150 cards.
Yeah.
It's not that hard to get 150 cards. Actually, it's quite a fun chase. Like
Yeah.
that was fun. So that there's that part of it, and I think the reason why these sets are so big is it's another way for them to pump out more product and get it into people's hands without the prices going up sort of too high. But as a
Yeah.
result, there's a lot more product out there. So I think that's the first part, and I'm trying to look at this from both sides.
Mm.
Then the second part is, well, I think you already touched on this too, like they're not really that collectible because there's so much of it. And
Yeah.
so then you start to chase the stuff that there's less of. So numbered cards is obvious, but even numbered cards, I think the value is coming down off them a little bit. I think we're sort of more gravitating towards case hits and that true sort of SSP type stuff. So, I think the level 4 cards in Court Kings, I think they're quite valuable.
Yep.
I think that a very low level chase card these days is Aurora, and maybe low level to the point that they're undervalued.
Yeah.
And then you look at kabooms, I think they're really important. I think downtowns, I think they're the ones that, when we look forward to the next 20 years and we say, oh, so what's the next scoring kings and what's the next beam team? In my head, it's pretty firmly cemented that kaboom is number one and downtown is probably number two. And then everything else is sort of just going to be, somewhere on the periphery. So I think
Yeah.
that's how I answer this question. But I think at the end of the day, the hobby is frankly it's just different now.
It
And I
is.
think autographs is a big part of what we do and what we collect, and then also too patches and that sort of maybe the more sort
Yeah.
of higher end product that sort of mixes in a bit of stuff in together. So why don't we read through everyone else's answers here, because I think it's good to acknowledge these. There's some good answers in here, and then we'll
Very
go
much
to a
so.
break. Ad, what do you
Yeah,
say?
for sure. Do you want me to
Right.
get? You can get started. Yep.
Yeah,
Right.
Ryan Miller, good chat topic. So well done, Al. Part of this has to be there's an insert in almost every pack. 4 to 5 in Don Russ. Yep, agree with that. We still do love some case hit and some well done common inserts, though. Slam or maybe Recon Vector, for example. But it's probably the same old story of oversaturation. Yeah, so oversaturation. And I think for me, the key point I want to emphasize here on Ryan's answer is okay, so for me, it's select. I personally think that the select inserts, they take the most risks there in terms of artistic
Yeah.
experimentation, and they just like do some weird stuff in there that's like, oh, well, is this going to work? I don't know, let's just chuck it onto the drawing board and see if it works.
Let's
And they
see.
chuck it into a set. I think some of that stuff is cool.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, Anthony Milne. Yep. Inserts these days are like consolation prizes in packs. Just because a lot of parallels throughout the hobby. And I'm like,
Yep.
yeah, because parallels an insert. And touching on that, I guess back in the day, there was like sometimes there was just a gold stamp on a card. That was the
Yep.
insert. It was it was a base card with a stamp on it.
Yeah.
That's before the prism variants or the refractor.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like there was some low effort inserts in the 90s to go with all the cool stuff.
Do you know what I think is a really good buy at the moment, and particularly when you're looking ahead, is silver LeBron base cards and also silver inserts of LeBron. I actually think, particularly when you like move this forward into the future, we're just talking about that Jordan card. I reckon that that's going to be one of those things that you pick them up now for $5 or $10, and then in a few years they're going to be
Big.
You send them off for grading, that they could be easily worth $50 to $100. I've got no problems with saying that at all.
That makes sense.
Yeah. Matthew Hull, inserts should be valued better. Some of them are amazing. I think they could be better. However, on their artwork, I mean that although they're good, they are devalued again by super short print inserts. Yeah, and you can look at it both ways, can't you? You can say, well, this one is devaluing the other. You now have inserts, short prints, super short prints, then the occasional made up update insert as a player does something cool. And then on top of that, you have numbered and autos and numbers. The fix is less print runs, but that won't happen when there's so much money to be made. Yeah, look,
Yep.
that's a derivative of probably what we just said, isn't it? But yeah,
Yeah.
it's a very, very good point, Matt.
Yep.
Yep.
And then then as ADOS summed it up. Rarity and desirability is the name of the game, I think.
Yep.
So, remember the inserts that we are saying were the big ones. So, and we'll refer back to Beam Team Scoring Kings.
Sure.
One a box.
Yeah.
Right? There's a set of 12 or 15. One a box. So not every box of like 93, 94 Fleer Ultra. I think that's the year, or was it 92, 93? I can't remember which.
Don't let the facts get in the way of it.
Whatever year that was.
Yeah.
Do you know every box didn't have a Jordan Scoring Kings in it? There were players that weren't as sought after.
Yeah.
Like there's a Karl Malone, there's a Alonzo. Is it Alonzo Mourning? Something like
There's
that.
definitely a Hakeem in there because I've got one of those in the cupboard. So yeah. Anyway, I know what you're saying.
Yeah. Yeah. So they weren't the easiest to come by, and they were highly sought after. But then people did have a lot of the, for better use of a term, crappy inserts.
Yep.
Anyway, that's all I've got to say on it. I think it was a good topic. Really, really well thought out, Al. Good discussion point and good opportunity to reminisce.
Yep. Alrighty, we're going to go to our last break, and then we're going to come back and we're going to do another listener question, and then we're going to talk some Denver Nuggets.
Nuggies.
Alrighty, we are back. Are you ready for the final run ad?
I was born ready. I wasn't born ready for the end, but
Yeah.
well, you know what I meant.
Matthew Hull, ahoy! Topic of discussion I forgot to add the other day. Busy. Blah, 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 blah. Is the hobby as influential as it seems to be with players and overall views of the league? What I mean is, with fanatics and tops kind of overlording the hobby, I can see that players are viewed and spoken about reflective of the hobby values. An example is the hobby predicted Tatum not growing to the point of Luka and Brown overtaking, with Luka still gaining value post-finals win or lose. They've all come down, but it seems the media, ESPN, sports, news, etc. are all following just behind the hobby. Is this coincidence, or does the hobby now have a new hold of the league? What other reasons could cause this? The WNBA, Caitlin Clark, thefts, Jeff Wilson, I'm going to beep that name out. Or is it Russell Gibson and Adam Amy? I don't know about that last one. Matthew, I think you're overestimating our contributions, but thank you. Personally, think we are on the precipice of big things in the hobby, and especially with the You Can't Comp This family. Thank you, Matthew. You've been a huge supporter to us. We appreciate your kind words. Photo is a recent acquisition, not for sale, not for trade, but someone I'm now watching due to listening more to the pod, and he's put in a Donruss choice, looks like.
Ben Shepherd.
Of Ben Shepherd, sticker order to 99. So yeah, nice little pickup, man. Adam, I'm going to turn this over to you, mate, because I'm a little bit torn on this. So I'll let you answer first, and I'll probably just rebut, I think.
Rebut from where so we briefly touched on these things, and I don't know, I think the influences are varied. I think it shapes opinions, but I can't imagine that the hobby's the leader here, and influences.
Yeah.
I think you hear a lot of opinions about cards, and obviously, and I'll go back because Matt's actually gone to the trouble of putting some hashtags on his post here. So first one is hashtag regulate the hobby, and the second one is hashtag Luka remains to be trash. So I like that one. Anyway, I like both of those actually a lot. I don't know. I'd like to think that I've had a hand in Luka's recent devaluing, but I think he's But I do think, in all seriousness, that I mean, we are a good barometer, but we're reacting. The hobby is a reactive community. Obviously, the players are the ones that are like we're watching the game, but I think we've got the finger on the pulse. So the news is sometimes the mainstream news is a little bit behind on their narratives, and a lot of us in the hobby consume a lot. We consume podcasts, we consume live games, and after those games, we're consuming podcasts about the live games.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like the amount of
Definitely.
information we're processing
Yeah.
is quite overwhelming. But as far as collectability goes, I think we've identified key things, and I don't think that drives the price so much, but it helps people collect. We've looked at the data surrounding bigs, for example, and like tall players. Centers don't sell papers, basically, right? Shaq can dominate the league, but his prices, maybe due to the production of his cards, but do you know what I mean? Like he was saturated through the market, and his prices are sort of where they are. Jokic, we say, is criminally undervalued, whereas Steph Curry's still flying through the roof because he's a guard. We've also got big markets, small markets as far as teams go. I mean, I'm not going to comment on what the people of Boston do with their buying patterns, but maybe it could be a combined IQ problem that the reason they're not buying Tatum. I'm really having goes, aren't I, today? But I don't know. I don't think the hobby is the one driving it. We drive the price, but it's based on the evidence we're seeing as collectors. Like, and what we're watching in the game. I think the ESPNs of the world are just doing the reporting. I don't think they care about the market.
Yeah, I do wonder if the national media is looking at card ladder and checking what prices is going up and down. If I'm understanding this question properly, so I would probably say that the hobby is more influenced by trends in the media.
Yes.
So that's the first thing. So what I mean by that is, so the really big stories, like the easy stories to follow. So for example, when Zion Williamson was all that,
the hype,
hobby value and hype in the hobby around Zion, I think at the same time there was an enormous amount of hype and drive from ESPN and the NBA media partners to push this kid into everyone's lounge room to like know who he was. All right, so that's the first thing. And I think each year that happens again and again. So for example, then it was LaMelo Ball after that, and then it was Anthony Edwards, and then, you know, to a degree I probably think it was, you know, Cade Cunningham, even though he, you know, really wasn't that sexy. And then, you know, last year, you know, we need to talk about names in this one? It was Wemby, like, and
it was all Wemby.
And I feel like the media last year was a bit more organic because you weren't trying to create hype, you were just presenting hype. And I think that was probably the difference. So I think where I'm going with this is, I think there's people that come in and out and buy and sell cards that's just driven on those like huge headlines. So people will just buy those big dogs.
Yeah.
And then I think if you drill this down a little bit more, and you spoke about this, the people who are consuming, you know, high levels of content, so then they're buying at a different level again. And I would probably say this is maybe where I fit into the hobby. It's like I enjoy buying the prospecting cards and then tracking these players as they come through the league and seeing their performance. And then you can also monitor the value of those cards sort of going up and down. So I think there's also, you know, that part of it. And I hope I'm answering your question properly here, Matthew. So I don't think it's the hobby that's driving that. I think it's the media and the way that you can now access players' performance so much easier. So, you know, my example for that is that, you know, I used to get Pontel DVDs, whereas now I just go into my phone. So I wake up in the morning, I can check my notifications if something's big's happened, and then while I'm eating my breakfast, I'm listening to the daily NBA program that summarizes what's just happened the last 24 hours in basketball.
Yeah.
You know, I think that's the difference for me, like how I sort of consume and then like exposed to the hobby. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
I think we're much more educated these days on what's going on.
There's a lot more information available. Yeah, between
We're not more educated,
NBA.com.
maybe more informed. How about that?
Yeah, sure. Okay, I won't disagree with that. Between NBA.com, Instagram, Twitter, like there's heaps of it going around. Yeah.
Yeah.
Anthony Milne. Sometimes the hype before they even play a single game is over the top, or they play in the summer league with no stars in the lineup, is way too high in prospect rankings. Being drafted in a well-exposed team always helps, but at the end of the day, the hobby is a flip before they flop type of prospecting. A lot more people in the hobby won't give any player 5 years to develop their talent, or should I say, hold them long enough to see they develop. Just my opinion. I think that's actually really true about the flip before they flop, because we talk about this all the time. In that first 12 months, there's so much hype around players. And probably if you're looking at statistically, when is the best time to sell, it's almost immediately. As soon as the product comes out, that's probably the highest a player is going to be, for quite a long period of time.
We went at the start of the show, we did that. We showed that, literally.
Yeah, that's right.
And that's with Wemby.
And that's with Wemby, that's right. He's like a top flight prospect on that.
Yep. Yeah. And it hasn't, and the hype hasn't died down.
Yeah.
Everyone thinks it's freaking, yeah.
There's always exceptions to the rules on that, right? So the easy one now that's like there's 3 that's come to my mind immediately, but the biggest one for me is Tyrese Maxey. No one cared about Tyrese Maxey in Philadelphia 76er PYTs. No one cared. Now that guy's now selling for the same rate that Cade Cunningham is.
Yep.
Then you've got Tyrese Halliburton, who had a huge surge this year, and then Anthony Edwards. Like, he literally dominated hobby talk for 4 weeks straight. Like, honestly,
he dominated. It was how good is this guy? He's finally taken the step. He's the next Jordan.
So flip before the flop, that's like a t-shirt we should be wearing, walking around. That's an awesome phrase, Anthony. Like,
flip before the flop.
Yeah, you have literally captured a hobby truth in a funny sort of slogan.
Yeah.
All right. I think we're gonna have time for one more thing, and then we'll close off today's show.
Let's make it big. Let's make it big. No.
Yeah.
Have we got time for big?
We're probably not going to get through all of this, so why don't we just do Gary Trent to the Bucks, and then we'll do Gary Trent card ladder, and we'll leave the Nuggets for next week, because I think we're going to need some content for next week anyway.
All right. Well, that's the Nuggets is a preview for next week.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're breadcrumbing to the Nugget. Oh, yeah, I'm trying.
Or as a penguin will do, pebble. We're pebbling
towards next week.
Yeah.
All right, Gary Trent.
Now, the reason I want to talk about Gary Trent, I really like this signing for the Bucks. The reason I like it so much, and this is how I'm going to measure to you how much I like it. He's going to start for them at the shooting guard. Mm-hmm. Can you tell me who started at shooting guard for the Bucks last year? Because already I've forgotten. That's how good of a signing this is.
Yep.
Yeah. Like, it's so much of an upgrade. You kind of like, I can't even really recall who started there. I think Chris Middleton did, and I think...
Yeah, wasn't it Middleton?
And I want to say Taurean Prince was also on the team, but
no, he was the Lakers.
Yeah,
Taurean Prince. But is it Middleton? Because if it's Middleton, I don't know if it's an upgrade. Or are they going to start Middleton and Gary Trent? What does he say? He's a small forward. He would have started the 3. Lillard. Before then, it was Holiday. Was at the point. Who was the 2?
Alrighty, so I've just gone on to Basketball Reference.
So
there was a couple of guys that started. They were in and out, so they had a lot of injuries last year. So Malik Beasley was definitely in and out of their starting lineup. The one that I'm trying to remember, or that I was trying to remember. It's this character here. Yeah, Jay Crowder. That's who I was getting confused with.
Oh,
So
Crowder.
Jay Crowder, and also Pat Connaughton. So essentially, I think what they're going to do is I think they'll move
Middleton's going to go
Middleton
to
to the 3, which he can easily play the 3.
Yeah.
And then Gary Trent will come in and play the 2. I think that's how.
And then Torian Prince will come off the bench, I think.
Yeah.
Because I don't think, Torian Prince is a starter. He wasn't in LA anyway.
Torian Prince might not even be on the team. I was getting confused with Jay Crowder. So anyway, look, I really like this signing for the Bucks. I think this is a really, really good thing for them, and I think they kind of needed a break because if they didn't get him, they didn't really have a talent injection. And I think my criticism of this roster is that, well, Pat Bev is gone. He's signed in Israel now, so he's off the roster. Lillard is year 11, and he was already old coming into the league. Brook Lopez is at 15 years of experience. Chris Middleton's at 11.
Yeah.
Giannis is at 10 years already. I can't believe he's been in the league for 10 years. But obviously, he's had injury problems last year. So it's not something that I'm kind of like, filled with confidence when I talk about the Bucks. But despite that, I still think they're going to have a really good year. So anyway, where I'm going with this, I don't think there's a lot of card value for Gary Trent. However, if you do like a nice low-level punt, his silver PSA 10 last sold for $30. So I don't think that is outrageous. And I think if you're banking on someone going to a new team, getting a fresh start, having a pretty decent role, having an impact. Because I think the problem for him last year in Toronto was that actually he played really well, and I would have been happy for him to go to any number of contenders. He's literally a 3-and-D guy.
Oh, I was hoping.
Like, he'd be good on the Lakers. He'd be good on...
The Lakers just... Rob Pelinka unplugged the phone once they signed Bronny.
That's it. He's done.
He's done. We're done. We did what we're supposed to do. No, you didn't do anything else. Anywho. So
we're going to really quickly segue here because I've sort of got like a minute to spare here. So there was a little bit of a segment we're going to do later on. And so it's talking about the remaining free agents. So I'll just move this up the sheet ad. So Markelle Fultz, his rights have been renounced by the Magic. Now, there's two trains of thought behind this. The first one is that they did it so that they could sign KCP.
Mm-hmm.
The other thought is that they're going to renounce him and re-sign him, or they're going to renounce him and just let him go and walk away. And I think that now that the Magic have got KCP, the starting lineup is definitely going to be Suggs and KCP. It's not going to be Fultz. So in the last 12 months, I've been saying, look, this guy's a really good buy. I think, he's got the chance to, resurrect his career, regain all of his spots, all that type of stuff. I was just checking his comps tonight. So he last sold for $9.99.
Is that Markelle Fultz?
Fultz for $9.08 for a silver PSA 10. So like the bottom has come out of this guy in a profound way. So all time, he is down 96%. His all-time high was $750. So, do I think this is a good buy? I mean, like for $10, I've spent $10 on a beer. Do you know what I mean? So I don't think, buying one of these for $10 is a terrible thing. But it also means that Gary Trent is currently 3 times more expensive than a Fultz at the moment. That's the comp where I was trying to drag this together.
Drew it was a long bow, but we got there.
It was a long bow. But here I am with...
You drew that from another segment.
Yeah.
Yeah. Impressive.
All right. Final thoughts, my friend.
I think the Gary Trent signing is a very good one in Milwaukee.
Yeah, it's huge.
And he's definitely worth a punt if he's that cheap.
Yeah.
But yes, it's nice to see that. I feel like my final thoughts from this week after everything we've talked about is it looks like the hobby is starting to regulate.
Signs of regulation.
There are signs of regulation or desire for regulation. People are crying out for it. Doing their bit.
I think there's a part in the hobby where you want it to be unregulated, in that things can move quickly and freely, and you can make deals and get things done, right? And that goes
That's
in
true.
all different levels.
Of course.
On the flip side, you've got people spending a whole bunch of money and you want some protection on yourself, right? And I think that's the part that
Mm.
I'm like reading through comments of people saying, yeah, like this is a good thing that they're doing this to protect us. And when they say that, what they're really trying to say is like, stop you from getting scammed and robbed, basically. So,
And that is a good thing. It's nice to see people considering that.
yeah.
Yeah.
I think my final thought of today is Markel Fultz at $9 is bloody tempting. I'm just a sucker for punishment sometimes, but that is ridiculous. I mean, that can't go down anymore, can it?
Well, it could if if he is out of the league. I think that's your summary of the week. Is that sound effect?
I'm pretty sure I should take that out, because otherwise it's going to be a very overused sound effect.
Oh, look, when required, of course.
Yeah. Alrighty.
Excellent.
Thank you, everyone on Central Coast Radio, for listening. We appreciate.
Thanks everybody that tuned in live on YouTube.
Yeah.
Or watched it or listened on YouTube later on.
Like and subscribe. That's what we have to say to
That's
people.
it. That's it. I'll script out some stuff so we can smash that like button, tick the bell for notifications, all the good stuff.
Hey, mate, do you know what we actually did forget? So why don't we'll finish off the show, and then we need to talk about our sponsor.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So everyone, thank you so much, and we'll catch you all next week.